if you do just let's say you just lay on your back and you do a normal diaphragmatic breath, or like what would be considered proper technique for a diaphragmatic breath. And I've got some videos on this, by the way. I have a blog. If you're listening to this right now and you want to, or I think we already talked about, the diaphragmatic breathing here too, but I do have a blog on this. Go check it out on the website if you need a more in-depth tutorial of the diaphragmatic breathing. But if you do that, is that if you do that properly, is that just going to do what your pelvic floor naturally should be doing? Like if you have a proper diaphragmatic breath, does that mean that your pelvic floor should, be doing what it's supposed to do?
Not always.
Mm-hmm. And that question leads me to what extent is this a physical issue, and kind of to what extent is this a non-physical issue? Like to what extent is stress and anxiety, or unusually high levels of that, or what else is going on here?
I would say when we're talking about overactive pelvic floors, the most common question I get whenever I'm talking and going through all this education with patients is like, why is this happening to me? Why me? What am I doing that, this happened? And I would say time and time again, the most common cause is stress, anxiety, depression. That like we live in a very high stress environment, a very high stress environment, society. And when patients don't have any productive or constructive outlet to rid that in their day-to-day life, we hold tension and stress. A lot of people hold it in a lot of different ways. Some people hold it in their shoulders with their upper traps. Some people hold it in their hands or in their feet. Some people, most of my patients, hold theirs in their pelvic floor. And so kind of what I was saying earlier when I joke that like my overactive pelvic floor patients are the tight asses. They are the high strung, the stressed, the anxious, the depressed. There's a huge psychosocial aspect to pelvic floor dysfunction. And to answer your question about diaphragmatic breathing, you could do diaphragmatic breathing all day long. And while it's great, it's exactly what I teach patients to do. It's you're taking a step in the right direction, but you're also only doing half of the puzzle piece, or half of the puzzle with the breath work. There also has to be a pelvic floor involvement.
Mm-hmm.
And if patients have a lot of times patients have no connection to their pelvic floor. They have no idea what's happening down there. They might be able to do the contraction, but whenever we go into the relaxation or the drop phase, patients are like, I can't feel anything happening down there. Like, I just don't know what's happening with that part of my body. And so sometimes I spend 2 or 3 sessions going over this with patients through various ways, different types of breathing techniques, different hands-on techniques. It's a huge part of what I do is getting patients to like connect with that part of their pelvic floor with their brain and learn how to gain control over it again. And so while knowing how to do a diaphragmatic breath is great, it's even better if patients have that intuition, that like mind body connection to be able to feel what's happening in their pelvic floor at the same time. And this, like I said, I don't want to undersell how hard this is for
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, especially whenever patients have chronic pain or they're dealing with erectile dysfunction or whatever other diagnosis. If this part of their body has been shut off for so long, it's really hard for people to wake it back up.
Hope you enjoyed that. Click over here if you want to watch another clip from the podcast. If you haven't subscribed, click over here to subscribe and check out full episodes on any major podcasting platform, full video episodes on the Better Man Podcast YouTube channel.